All right, so we are back. Today's video is more YouTube boxing, but a little different. Just like everything we do here at the W.A.D.E concept, a little bit different than everybody else. So I was sitting here at my desk thinking about the Jake Paul and Ben Askren fight, and I'm thinking to myself, pretty much every single person that has a hand in what comes out of this fight is covering it, whether that's myself, YouTube boxing, mainstream media, other boxers are talking about this fight, other fighters are talking about this fight, everyone. But there's one person I thought we would hear something definitely by now about this fight, not necessarily covering it, but what happens after it, and that is Mr. KSI. He's kind of been radio silent on this thing until yesterday, and that is because the Sidemen have done a, I'm going to mispronounce this, mukbang? There is a clip of all the Sidemen talking about Jake versus Ben Askren that we really haven't got to see JJ's perspective on yet, so I'm really interested to see here what he thinks of the fight. Sidemen Sunday video, what are KSI's thoughts about Jake Paul and Ben Askren, and who does he think wins the fight? Let's check this thing out. Right off rip, these fools are balling. How many different types of wine you got right here, bro? 1, 2, 3. That's a beer, I'm pretty sure. Comment section. You got to treat yourself sometimes, all right? I mean, look at me. I got my tank top on. It's a little hot in California, so I decided I'd treat myself to the gun show. Got a cramp. We good. Okay, let's go.
There is another YouTuber boxing fight coming on. We
is.
got someone from the MMA fighting someone from YouTube.
Yeah,
we do.
Yep.
Ben Askren versus some like YouTuber.
Yeah.
I got to preface this by saying I don't know a lot of the Sidemen. I know KSI, who is munching down right here, and I know Vicstar. Vicstar plays Modern Warfare and Warzone and stuff, and I play that game too, so I know who he is. Everybody else, I don't really know too much about, so if I don't know people's names, sorry, guys.
I think it's going to be a sick fight.
Really?
I think it's going to be a sick fight. I don't know who's going to win.
Really? You don't?
I don't know who's going to win because Jake might fuck him up. Ben Askren's like experience.
But he's
I don't know who's going to win.
This guy hit the whoa.
Fuck him up. Then Ben Askren's like experience.
But he's boxing, not MMA, right?
Yeah, but he's a weathered fighter. Like he's been
True.
through the ringer.
True.
Like he knows how to scrap.
Because
like,
Nate and Deji hadn't really. They hadn't done a professional fight, right?
No, this man's.
So
like
this is his first fighter who has been in multiple fights.
So this is a great point by the guy sitting next to Vicstar. He says that Ben is a weathered fighter. He is a guy that's been in there, been through trials and tribulations, been through adversity. And Vicstar, yeah, he's right that Ben is not a boxer, and this has been an MMA experience and wrestling experience before that. But there is something to be said for a guy that understands how to not only go through a fight camp, how to persevere, how to go through adversity, and also how to, in the middle of a fight, adjust and not be overwhelmed by the moment, by the situation, by being down in a fight, by being tossed on his head by Robbie Lawler just to come back and bulldog choke him for the win. He's been through it in multiple different forms of combat, wrestling, MMA, different promotions, years of doing this, decades of doing this. Against a guy like Jake who hasn't faced adversity, has only fought guys that have either run right at him or shied away from him completely. We are going to see what happens when an actual fighter either lasts longer than Jake expected or puts Jake in a position early on that he didn't expect to be in.
I think
Jake's gonna lose.
You think he's gonna lose?
Whoa. I kind of expected JJ to say something like that, but I want to see his follow-up because he could just be saying it because he's trying to protect that fight with Jake, and there's a lot of money to be made there, and I think he wants to be the guy that finally shuts Jake up, but let's see his reasoning behind it.
I don't think he's gonna lose.
I think he'll let the pressure get to him.
Or I think he'll.
I don't think he's gonna lose.
I think he'll let the pressure get to him.
See, this is what I'm talking about because KSI is saying he thinks that Jake will let the pressure get to him, and I haven't seen any evidence to the fact that Jake has ever let the pressure of a fight get to him yet. Again, we can't judge Jake off what we haven't seen, right? We haven't seen him deal with a pro fighter. We have seen him fight under the lights. We have seen him fight in front of a big crowd twice, and the pressure really hasn't ever gotten to him. He fights Deji in his first fight in a sold-out arena in London. Time difference, people booing, heckling him. He came out and pretty much dominated that entire fight, rounds 1 to 5. The fact was, Jake performed under the lights, under big-time pressure in that situation. Jake loses that fight to Deji. We never get this. Same with Gibb. He has a fight card tailored around him for DAZN. So this was a big deal, and Jake, again, under pressure, performed. And then you have the Triller card. Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. are the headliners. And he's fighting an NBA superstar. To be fair, didn't belong in the ring with Jake, but under all those circumstances, he performed once again a big-time knockout. So to say Jake isn't good under pressure, or he can't perform under pressure, or he won't, there's been no evidence to back that up.
Do you not think that?
Because you gotta remember, the only reason he beat Deji was because Deji got tired.
Yeah.
See, I don't know, man. I don't think the only reason he beat Deji was because Deji got tired. I think there were a lot of things that contributed to, one, Deji getting tired, which were the shots to the body that Jake started piling on early and paid off late. Deji put himself into the corner many times. Jake was the aggressor the entire time. He trained harder, he had a better skill set, and he prepared better. Simple as that.
But here's
That
the
was
thing.
so early, though. Jake's
But he panicked.
But do you know what? Here's the thing, though.
Who
He
panicked?
panicked even against Nate. He started panic through.
I don't think. Look at Big Star. Big Star and I made the same face. Yeah, KSI's not being honest here. He's not. If he genuinely thinks that Jake panicked in the Nate Robinson fight, panicked in the Deji fight, panicked in the Gibb fight, he's got some serious soul searching to do before he fights Jake, because that guy didn't panic. If anything, Jake showed calm, cool, collectiveness under pressure. He set up a right hand over the top 3 straight times, and it wasn't the most technical, but it's hard to look good when a guy is just continually sprinting at you. But Jake did set up that right hand. He landed it 3 times, and Nate hit the deck 3 times. I didn't see panic. I saw a performance that he got the best out of because the other guy should not have been in the ring with him, but I didn't see panic.
Yes, it's quite controlled, but then if you're against someone that knows how to fight,
Yeah.
But you've got to wonder if it gets inside his own head, is in like he's breezed through 3 fights now. Inside his own head, is he a lot better than he is, which means the nerves don't hit him.
That could work both ways, though. He could be overconfident.
Yeah.
And then as soon as he
True,
gets in
and
the
then
ring,
someone who has been in lots of...
Yeah, exactly. As soon as I hit him and he's just there like, what the fuck? What's going on?
The one thing that I can say about Jake we haven't seen is him deal with adversity. And that's something that, again, if you're hinging your bet on Ben Askren beating Jake, it's going to be the fact that Ben is going to tire him out, clinch him, hold him, wear his arms out, hit him to the body. As the fight goes on, how does Jake experience adversity in that respect? How does he find a way to weather through 8 rounds of a guy just peppering him with shots, clinching him, making him tired? And by the 7th, 8th round, does he still have that kind of ability that he had in round 1? That's something that I can understand if you're saying Jake hasn't been through adversity yet. That's a fair assessment of the fight. I like that point by these guys.
I'm in the ring, striking.
Ground and pound. He's going ground and pound.
But if you can grapple in MMA, does that make you good at clinching?
Yeah.
He'll be good in the
So, and that's good because that is how you would, because Jake's taller and got more reach than him. So if you,
Okay, Vic. My man understands the game. While there's a little bit more nuance to what he's saying than I think he knows or understands, he's right. Yes, it would make him a little bit better in the small, minute details of the clinch. Now, one big factor this will depend on is the referee and how quickly these separations are, right? You will have some referees that let boxers kind of work in the clinch and throw some dirty boxing in there and some shots to the body and then let them break themselves. Or there's going to be some guys that step in very quickly and separate you guys for either a lack of activity or because someone is trying to do a little more in the clinch than is deemed necessary in a boxing ring. So that's a good point by Vic. But it will hinge upon how quickly this referee does decide to break these clinches.
I was watching someone speak about that, and they were saying that if Ben just clinches all night, his experience of putting his weight on someone will definitely pay dividends.
100%.
Clinches and then finds the angles from his clinches.
Yeah.
He could do some work.
Yeah.
He'll start throwing elbows at him and shoulders.
I mean, you can throw some elbows in boxing if you're small.
Yeah, you can. I mean, it's knocked guys out before. There's footage of guys being knocked out by what looks like a punch that misses short and the elbow comes behind it, right? If you're throwing and that punch misses short, you turn that elbow over. That's a devastating elbow, even if the fist is clinched. Sure, you can land them if you can try to make it look like you're not doing it purposely, but absolutely, that's true. You can find ways to get sneaky in the clinch and land elbows. Yeah, Ben could inadvertently land a couple elbows in there, and that would be very interesting because we already know Jake bleeds easily. If somehow Ben were to sneak an elbow in, that would get very, very interesting very quickly. Again, it's semantics, man. You really have to know what you're doing in there to throw an elbow and make it look like you didn't mean to throw that elbow. So he would have to be very, very smart and a little cheeky to get away with that.
April, yeah.
Oh, the Logan one was much.
I don't think that Logan one's going to happen, you know? It's going to happen.
I'm on JJ's side. I
think Jake versus Mayweather is more likely to happen.
All right, so this is something to kind of poke a hole in KSI's whole Jake is not beating Ben Askren's argument, because now KSI has said it's more likely that Jake fights Floyd Mayweather than that Logan does. He says he doesn't think Logan is actually going to fight Mayweather. Well, Jake would have to beat Ben Askren to fight Floyd Mayweather. He would have to. And I don't disagree that Jake would be the more worthy if either of them are considered worthy, which I don't consider either of them to be worthy of stepping into a ring with Floyd Mayweather at any time. But if you're going to consider one to be more worthy, you pick the guy that's won 3 fights, possibly now 4, or do you pick the guy that lost in his pro debut to another YouTuber that was making his pro debut?
Like,
Logan also
I don't think so.
got the contract with Mayweather and then was like, oh my God, this is the biggest day ever, I've just signed this. Whereas Jake goes, you're a pussy whose daughter shags NBA stars.
Yeah, it's just different.
Like I said, Jake understands how to sell a fight. I'm not a big fan of Floyd Mayweather, the person. As a boxer, one of the best ever. As a person, kind of an asshole. Actually, just an asshole. But when Jake steps into a fight with someone, he is automatically the villain. And yes, I would love to see Floyd just school that dude, but that shit's funny. All right, so there you have it. Finally, some input, some analysis, and a prediction from KSI in this video. Honestly, I don't know if he actually believes what he's saying, and if he does, I don't know if he's actually watched some of these fights. I'm going to be as unbiased as I can. I think JJ's probably a nicer, cooler human being than Jake is, but he's flat wrong here. He is flat wrong if he thinks Jake is wilted under pressure or has evidence to the contrary of him actually performing well under pressure, or the fact that Jake was not beating Deji because he was better just because Deji got tired. There's some things that KSI is trying to do to convince himself that Jake is not that good, when in fact, Jake has proven with our own eyes, we've seen it, he's the only one doing it. He's the only one active and going out there and putting it on the line. So fair play to Jake. Me personally, I think KSI is saying a lot of this to build a fight with him and Jake, to convince, like I said, you guys, himself maybe even, that Jake is not that good and that he holds still that precedent over Jake because he beat his older brother. So KSI has finally given his prediction. Jake Paul, he says, will lose to Ben Askren because he will shrink under the pressure. Is he right? I guess we're going to find out.